something tangible to more lives in our city. And it was just really powerful to be a part of. So I feel very, very proud of Mom and Dad. So now I am going to transition over to my sister. Just one more story is that the other day I called my grandma, my mom's mom, and was just catching up with her and was like, oh, Nani, how are you? And she's like, oh, I'm doing good. The other day, one of their aunts came over and was showing me these videos of you on the internet speaking. You're such a good speaker. I was like, what is she talking about? I don't speak on the internet. This is so bizarre. And we were going back and forth for a while, and then we figured out that she was talking about my sister Molly. So anyway, I'd just like to welcome my favorite sister Emily, and she's now going to share with you a little bit more about what that's looked like.
Thank you, Emily. I'm going to have a lot of that ripped to shreds by my younger brother. So thank you for that. I know that everyone here tonight, we are here because we have a unified desire to see our city have greater employment, flourishing families, thriving economies. We wouldn't be here otherwise, right? For my parents, they could not just be aware of the heightened hopelessness that they saw specifically in North Omaha. It was like my dad had to do something. He had to do something. I love how our stories kind of intertwine. Annie talked about how Flanagan High, he read the newspaper about the coach not coming into kids' games, and his heart was gripped. He would tell the story how he had the idea. At the time, this is, just so you know, a youth pastor in the suburbs, and he thought, well, we could load all the youth into the buses, drive down to North Omaha, quickly get out of the buses, cheer them on, and then quickly get back on and go back out to West Omaha so the parents wouldn't be too upset. But it was like that was part of the seed that I think marinated for many years, and put the wheels in motion for hope to start. Being pastors and people of faith, it didn't stop stopping the head knowledge that things should be different. 20 plus years ago, for my parents, Ty and Terry Schenzel, their faith grew feet. Faith with feet is this. Faith with feet is conviction that leads to action. The Hope Center was birthed out of this. One of the things, if you are familiar with my father speaking, because he spoke for many years about the Hope Center, was he would always ask the question, what's your problem? And this wasn't like getting up in your face, but it was this, what is your problem? What is the thing that you carry in your heart that you're not okay with? What injustice or issue keeps you up at night, and that do you just have to see improved in your lifetime? And for him, it was hopelessness in the lives of inner city youth and children. As Annie shared, and I can attest, that us, their kids, were the single most important aspect of their life, and it was a really unique and beautiful thing because I feel like their love for us just overflowed for the whole city. And so it was just this very natural thing for them to do, to want to connect with the youth. So Annie shared pieces of this, but I just wanted to give a little bit of an overview of the evolution of hope. As Dad's dream found its footing, the first steps looked like us going down to Strelo apartments. And these apartments were known for their heightened crime, drug activity, violence. I mean, this is not where you would probably choose to raise your family. But my parents decided to take us, which at the time, Turner was a baby, and I was not yet 6 when Turner was born, so you can imagine like loading your young family up. And it started for a few years to go down, and I can remember them doing vacation Bible schools, like Annie said, beautifying the area, sidewalk chalk, piggyback rides, Bible stories. But it got a little more aggressive as the years went on. We actually ended up moving into a vacated apartment, and I can remember there being just, it was a totally different way of life. And they exposed that to us as young, and a group of people came and moved in with my parents and us, and we continued building these connections with the community in Strelo Terrace apartments. The interesting thing is that there was a gang member by the name of Rock that as each day went on, my dad would say he noticed him getting closer and closer and closer to kind of like the common courtyard area where we were doing the vacation Bible school. And the last day, he asked my dad this question, that he would say in his story was, I don't know that we would all be here today, or what would have happened had this question not been asked by Rock, but he said to my dad, what's going to happen to these kids once you leave? And my dad will tell you that that did two things for his heart. The first one is that it completely destroyed his stereotype of a gang member. And number two, it completely solidified his commitment to having a continued presence in the community. There had to be something that was not just a week. 1 week was not going to affect the kind of change it was needed to bring about lasting impact. And in that moment, he said, I will give my life to this dream. Eventually, through the generosity of dear friends, the Franks and the Smiths, the Hope Center building was purchased. And shortly after that, my parents moved all of us to a more midtown location so my dad could be closer to his work. Faith with feet, to me, is staying power. One of the most important things we can do is stay open, was a phrase often repeated by my father. On those times where the pressure and the responsibility of nonprofit would feel weighty on him, he would go and spend time praying, and I can remember him saying, just staying open, just being a presence, just being a source of consistency is one of the most powerful things we can do. I feel like if they could be here tonight, my parents would look around, and I actually told someone in the lobby, I feel like this would be one of the happiest days of their entire life. Number one, because they were our number one fans, so the fact that all four of us are up here together, they would be completely beside themselves. I hope they're peering over the balcony of heaven right now. But number two, to see how God has used their life to do something that we're totally unqualified to do, I know they would stand here and say, this is such a God thing. Tyler mentioned, we're so thankful to the Hope Center for Kids staff, who, in the wake of the loss of my parents and without their leadership, said yes to the dream and to the continued labors. We are so thankful that they would do this. Though both Rock and my parents are no longer with us, I can almost feel the weight of the question that Rock asked my dad to all of us in this room. What's going to happen to these kids once you leave? My parents ran the race well. They allowed their problem to spur them to action. But now it's our turn and our responsibility. Every one of us here who supports the Hope Center, whether it be through volunteerism, prayer, resource, and finance, has effectively left the realm of stagnant faith and joined the ranks of those of the feet with faith.
A little over 3 years ago, we all lost someone that meant something to us. Maybe you remember them as Emily described, people in the city doing good work. Maybe you remember them as Annie described, as insanely loving parents that lived their life to love on others. Maybe you remember them as leaders that led with vision and love, as friends that always felt us feeling encouraged. Maybe they were your pastors or your mentors. While we may not be qualified to be up here right now, I'm glad Tyler cleared that up. I think we can stand up here as everyone in this room here tonight with a few similarities. Most of us live in Omaha. Hopefully all of us care about Omaha. Most of us have watched Hope grow over these past 20 years. We remember the first time we went and visited. We've probably been back a few times since then. We can remember year after year of Dad standing up here with tears in his eyes, laboring while he shares God's heart for hope. We remember the stories of hope. Kid after kid finding a safe place every day to build friendships, have innocent fun, experience the guidance and encouragement of a loving father and mother, finding hope. We remember where we all were when we heard the news. It marked us forever because they marked us forever. We couldn't believe it. It couldn't be true. Maybe some of us feared for our future, our own future and Hope's future. I have to be honest with you all today. The last 3 Hope Galas have been hard for me. While I love coming and hearing about what God is doing and the vision for the future, it's felt like something has been missing, if I'm being honest. I've been trying to stay in the loop with what's going on at Hope, talking with Jason and King and Vontae about how Hope is doing. Without being there every day, it's kind of hard to stay in the loop fully. Asking guys what's happening, what's going on down there, who's coming down every day, how are they doing, are you encouraged about what's going on? The good news is God has undoubtedly moved, but it still felt just a little bit different. I think we've all felt that a little bit. The people that carried this thing for so long are no longer carrying it. I felt discouraged, I felt sad. I felt like 20 chapters representing 20 years in a book God was writing titled Hope was ending. Then one day, God wrecked me. I was spending some time reading and writing, just spending some time with the Lord. I was praying for hope, feeling discouraged and sad, and wondering if it would ever be the same. And he asked me a question. He said, whose is it? Who owns hope? It literally stopped me in my tracks. The tone behind it felt like he wasn't the least bit worried, like he knew the answer and was asking me for my own sake. He does that sometimes. It all started to become clear to me. The Hope Center was God's, has always been God's, and will always be God's. This has been his heart from the beginning. I believe that he chose 2 people to share it with over 20 years ago. They chose to respond and pour everything they had into it, but it never switched hands. The Hope Center for Kids is just as much God's now as it was at the beginning of time when he saw it. The kids playing, the laughter, the friendship, the love, the fun, the growth, the achievements, the struggle, the hardship, the hope. I'm going to ask for a little crowd participation. Would you please stand if you remember my parents sharing their heart for hope with you before the Hope Center started? Is there anyone out there? Would you please stand if you remember the day the doors opened at Hope in 1998? Would you please stand if you were once a Hope youth? You are a current Hope youth? You've heard my mom or dad preach about their heart for hope across the city. Would you please stand if you've been down to the Hope Center and felt encouraged about what you see? Would you please stand if you've heard about the Hope Center some way, somehow, and felt encouraged to maybe learn a little bit more? Would you please stand if you're here tonight? No, I don't think that's by accident. Stay standing with me for just a second. We're in this together now. Just like God asked my dad over 20 years ago to partner with him in reaching North Omaha, he's asking us right now. I believe that God has never been more excited about hope. He has a plan, he cares, and he's going to change lives in a city. He wants us to be a part of it. Would you consider making a decision tonight to partner with what God is doing? Ask yourself what you can do. Come be a teacher and help with homework. Come be a friend and play with the youth. Come be a servant and serve hot meals. Come be a mentor and share your time and encouragement. Make an investment with a guaranteed greatest return on investment you have ever seen. A city beaming with God's love, brokenness restored, healthy families, excitement for the future, a city with hope. Thank you.